You're listening to the Supernatural Opinions podcast. Hi, I'm KJ. My pronouns are she, her, and this is the podcast where I recap the show Supernatural with my fellow fans and we discuss our supernatural opinions. This is the very first ever episode of Supernatural Opinions. I love this show. I'm frustrated by this show. I can't stop watching it or talking about it. Instead of turning my other podcast, Series of Opinions, into a Supernatural podcast, I figured that there were probably a lot of other people who had things to say about Supernatural and that they might want to share their Supernatural opinions. So here we are. Today we're recapping Season 1, Episode 1, The Pilot, which originally aired on September 13th, 2005. And here to help me do that are my guests of the week. So first we have Meredith, and I'm so happy to have both of my co-hosts from my other podcast, Series of Opinions, Faith and Moira. If you guys want to introduce yourselves, now's the time.
I'm Meredith. My pronouns are she and her, and my social media is Shades of Dianira at Tumblr and Instagram, and you'll see lots of drawings there.
I'm Faith, and my pronouns are she, her. My Instagram is at Miss Faith Ann. My art Instagram is at Faith Ann Art, and I'm going into my third year of college for graphic design.
And I'm Moira. My pronouns are she and her, and my social media is Moira_Frisk on everything, and I'm so excited.
Yes, and I'll put everybody's social medias in the episode description. So this week's episode will contain spoilers for this episode, clearly, but there's no previous episodes to spoil. It won't contain any spoilers for later episodes of Supernatural. That's going to be a thing we're going to try and stick to. So before we get really into the plot of the episode, this week is the pilot, and the first episode of TV shows are called that because according to Wikipedia, at the time of its creation, the pilot is meant to be the testing ground to gauge whether a series will be successful or not. Therefore, it's a test episode for the series as a whole. It's an early step in the series development, so it's like a pilot study that is like a precursor to like a larger study. Mm-hmm. So that's why TV shows often call the pilot on the first episode. And often why the pilots are a little bit meh with the rest of the series, because they're just kind of testing things out. And usually by the time that a show actually makes it to series, they've had a little more time to think about things.
Yeah, and kind of flesh it out a little bit.
Oftentimes also not a lot of budget when filming a pilot, so...
Supernatural actually had a pretty good pilot, though.
It did have a pretty good pilot, but it was definitely a low-budget pilot.
Oh, yeah.
Very true.
We blew all our budget putting Mary on the ceiling.
Pretty much. Fire is expensive.
Yeah.
So this week's episode was written by the show's creator, Eric Kripke, and it was directed by David Nutter. Eric Kripke obviously wrote quite a lot of Supernatural episodes. Not as many as you would think, but mostly in the first 5 seasons when he actively worked on the show. He's also known for several other shows, including, but not limited to, Timeless, the movie The House with the Clock on the Walls, and now The Boys.
Wow.
Which now is including Supernatural star Jensen Ackles. And
really?
David, yeah, that's what Jensen's going to be on. I think they're on their 3rd season, maybe. And his character, he's playing a character named Soldier Boy, I believe. He's really grown out his facial hair. It's been a whole thing.
Yeah. Did you see that video of him the other day working out? I mean...
Oh my god.
Yeah, right?
Also, I died when he said that on Supernatural all I had to do was wear flannel.
Yeah.
And David Nutter has directed a lot of things, including 9 episodes of Game of Thrones, 15 episodes of The X-Files, the pilot episode of the CW's Arrow, some episodes of Shameless, and according to IMDb, he's currently filming a TV series adaptation of The Time Traveler's Wife, which is one of my favorite movies.
Wow.
So
cool.
hopefully the show will be good, because I'll be checking that out.
Yeah, that's cool.
Assuming that makes it onto TV somewhere, I'm going to be watching that for sure.
Also, just a warning, I'm going to be mentioning the X-Files a lot.
This show mentions X-Files a lot, so I think you're free reign as many X-Files references as you want. Also, I haven't actually watched the X-Files, so it's good to have someone who has and can make those references.
Haven't finished it yet, but that's more than you, which is fine.
Yeah, it's a lot more than me. All of the more than me. So are we ready to just start recapping this thing?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm so ready. It was so good. I loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good pilot as far as pilots go.
KJ's obviously watched the whole thing. I'm on season 7.
I'm on season 2.
I have seen up to season 12, but I'm rewatching it, and I'm at season 5 right now.
Oh, nice.
So we start with an opening sequence that was 22 years ago, and for reference, this was 1983. If you just watch this pilot right now, it says 22 years ago. It was not 1998. 99,
Yes.
Whatever 22 was. It was 1983 because this show came out in 2005.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of wish that they had said 1983 instead of 22 years ago.
Yeah.
Because the show then went on to last for 15 years.
Indeed.
It's going to be rewatched again and again, and it's just easier to say 1983 because the show later specifies the year and the day pretty specifically.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, It's 1983 in Lawrence, Kansas, and we are presented with a very happy family. Mom, Mary, Dad, John, son, Dean, 4 years old, and Sam, who's a baby.
Just idyllic.
They're putting the kids to bed. I think that they're really just putting Dean to bed because babies don't go to bed.
True.
Sam is like 6 months old, which means he is either always asleep or never asleep, and it's like it's not like you put him down at like 7:30 and he just like sleeps through the night, I would assume. I don't know. I don't have a baby,
There's
so
no in between.
maybe I'm wrong. But it's probably more likely that they're just putting Dean to bed and he just wants to say goodnight to his brother. And they're just like, we're gonna turn the lights off and hope that you sleep as well.
But no one will be sleeping that night.
Oh yeah, no no one is sleeping in this house. So things are turning on and off by themselves in Sam's room. Always creepy. Always looks creepy. It's a horror movie cliche, but like don't stop doing it, I guess, because it works.
True.
Like there's mobiles and clocks and lights going on and off. It's a whole thing.
Yeah, very creepy.
Yeah. Mary gets up to check on Sam. She thinks she sees John in the nursery, so she investigates the light flickering in the hallway. Then she hears the TV's on downstairs, and she thinks that's weird. So she goes downstairs. She sees the real John sleeping in the couch, lazy boy, whatever. Chooses not to wake him up before running back upstairs. I mean,
that might have been a good thing to do.
I mean, probably good for John, but also maybe not that good for John.
Considering what happens next.
Yeah.
Exciting.
Yeah. I just had a thought that might derail this whole recapping and lead to a discussion. What if she woke up John and John had been the first one in the room? Do you think John would have been killed? Or do you think specifically Mary would have been killed?
I think it was probably always gonna be Mary.
I'm having trouble, like, thinking of a response without giving spoilers.
Yeah.
I know.
Fair enough.
Maybe we can table this for a discussion episode.
Yes. Yeah.
And another thought, too. If Mary thought that there was, like, an intruder...
Yes.
She probably should have woken John. I never thought of that until you said that. Because, of course, she wants to,
because she saw
get to the baby.
Yeah, she saw someone with the baby already. Yeah. So she knows that whoever is in her home is touching her child.
Right.
So I understand her.
No.
I do understand that she, like, wants to get upstairs.
Yes.
But also just, like, wake him up.
There's somebody in the house and then go get Sam.
Give him a head start, because John wakes up when Mary gets upstairs and she screams.
Mm-hmm.
So we already know that her screaming can wake him up pretty easily, so you could have just done that.
Scream downstairs.
Yes.
And then
at the bottom.
as you're running up the stairs, like, there's no reason to run silently up the stairs.
Yeah.
Sorry, Mary.
Nobody checks on the other child also.
Yes.
Yeah. I get all this happened really quickly, and, like, she knows that, like, Sam's normal, but, like, what if there was another person?
Mary, we will allow you to be a little bit stupid because your child's in danger.
Also, it was the middle of the night. This woman got woken up in the middle of the night.
There we go.
And she was a baby. Yeah. She's probably sleep deprived. Anyway, she runs upstairs. She screams. We don't really see what's happening, but she screams. John runs upstairs when he hears it. He doesn't see her, but he goes to the baby, having a very calm reaction to the baby, honestly, considering he, like, ran in the room, like, panicking because his wife screamed and then he doesn't see his wife.
Yeah, he just, like, turns that off. He just is like, oh, baby.
Yeah, shuts that down. He's like, okay, like, the baby's awake. Like, okay, like, maybe I heard the baby? John was also asleep. Maybe he thought, like, he heard Mary, but then he got upstairs and he was like, well, she's not in here. It must have been the baby I heard. And, like, I was just, like, asleep.
Yeah, you think he was, like...
The only one in this house who can't do a high-pitched scream is me.
Yeah, pretty much.
That is actually true.
Mm-hmm. And, like, when you're sleeping, you know, sometimes, like, your brain does weird things with stimuli, so, you know. Mm-hmm. So he doesn't really pick up the baby. He just, like, goes to, like, touch the baby, and he sees blood dripping onto the crib and onto Sam, and then he looks up to investigate the source of the bleeding. My assumption would be that I was bleeding at that point.
Yeah. I would,
but you weren't. Yeah, not bleeding. It's not John bleeding. He looks up. Mary is on the ceiling, defying gravity, bleeding from this, like, cut in her, like, torso. Mm-hmm. And then she is, like, silently screaming and then spontaneously combusts.
Which is kind of traumatizing.
Fully traumatizing.
Incredibly traumatizing.
John picks up Sam. Dean is woken up at some point during all of this.
Yeah.
Not sure what actually wakes Dean up. Like, John kind of, like, yells a little bit, but, like, maybe Dean also heard Mary scream.
Yeah.
But Dean is awake. He runs into John in the hall. John hands him the baby. Dean is 4. He's, like, hardly big enough to be holding a baby.
Yeah.
But tells Dean to go outside. Goes back.
Your brother outside as fast as you can.
Yeah. Goes back to save Mary. Can't, because she's on the ceiling and on fire.
Bad combination.
Bad combination. Cut back to Dean, who's on the front lawn, like, barely. John picks both the kids up, which is a very unsafe way to pick up a baby.
Yeah.
But, like, also, like, life-threatening emergency. So,
Good house is on fire.
Good call, because something in the house, like, explodes. It could just be, like, the supernatural fire, or it could be something, like, in the house that explodes, but something explodes, and the fire gets a lot worse. So, good call on picking up the baby, but do not recommend picking up your baby by, like, having your other child hold them and then picking up your other child.
Yeah.
It's not safe.
Very musicians of Bremen.
So that officially makes Mary Winchester the first death of the episode.
Then we discover the thing that exploded was actually the plot.
Yes. So we cut to a title card, which has no sound. It just kind of flashes.
I was gonna say, it's the intro, like the title card is so silent. It's so weird.
It's very silent.
Yeah.
Fun fact about the rest of the title cards that happen from here on out, basically. It's the same sound as Mary burning on that ceiling.
What?
I saw this on TikTok. I wish I had saved the TikTok so I could source that. But if you play those, like the intro, and then you play that scene, that's the sound.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Yeah. Yikes.
Sorry to ruin everybody's day.
Yeah.
That super creepy sound is in fact Mary Winchester dying.
Every episode. Woohoo.
I also have a fun fact about the fire trucks that happen in this scene where the house is on fire.
Is this fact actually fun?
Yes, it is. It is actually a fun fact. It's fun. I got this fact from fandom.com, Supernatural Wiki. The fire trucks in Lawrence, Kansas were actually lime green in the 1980s. They weren't red. So the trucks are supposed to be green.
Cool.
Was that fact fun enough for you?
It was pretty fun. I feel like I had fun just then.
So then we are at Stanford University present day, which for the record is 2005. Specifically, approximately like October 31st, 2005. So Sam is now an adult, if you can call 22 an adult, which we are because we're all about that age.
Legally, yeah.
Sam and his girlfriend Jessica are going to a Halloween party, so we are led to believe that it's October 31st, which is also kind of confirmed in the second episode, but trying to get a timeline down here. Sam has already taken his LSAT, so he probably took a summer LSATs or like an early fall LSATs and done really well. He's about to interview for Stanford Law. He's hoping to get a full ride. He reveals he's not close to his family at all, but is very much in love with his girlfriend Jessica.
Who is played by Adrienne Palicki, who you might recognize from shows like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
I love Adrienne Palicki. She was a big name to get in 2005.
Yeah.
That's the thing, like a big name to get for a not very big role. Just spoiler for the ends of this episode. Just doesn't have a super long tenure on this show.
Yeah.
Jensen had like been in some soap operas and like gotten some awards, and Jared had been on Gilmore Girls, obviously.
Yeah.
And they done a few things, but they weren't household names. They weren't big name actors at all.
No.
So Adrienne Palicki was a big name to have in this very small role.
I guess they took one look at Jared Padalecki and they were like, we need another tall, attractive person to be with him.
Truly. Everybody on the show is insanely attractive.
I mean.
That's just American TV.
That is
Very
also
true.
fair. So they're at a Halloween party, very much in love. Sam doesn't like Halloween. He's not close to his family, loves Jess. Later that night, they're in bed. Sam's woken up by someone breaking into his apartment. He accosts the intruder, which is not the appropriate response to someone breaking into your house. If it's safe, you should call the authorities.
Yeah, but they aren't really one for police.
They aren't one for police. Based on how we're about to find out that Sam was raised, police was like literally the last thing on his mind.
I feel like Sam probably had this like little internal war in his head. Like, should I do the normal person thing and call the cops, or should I just do the Winchester thing and beat up the idiot?
Yeah, and it's so dark. Like, what if you had a friggin' knife or gun or something?
Yeah, it is dark. This fight is happening in the dark. It's actually really well choreographed because it's dark.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very, very well choreographed. I was impressed.
Yeah.
I think because it's dark,
so
I think any issues with the choreographing are hidden in the dark, and it looks cool. It looks really cool. I think there is something, like, Sam is he's about to go to law school. He's been studying pre-law at Stanford. So I think it's safe to say, like, that's probably adjusted his attitude towards policing.
Probably,
Lawyers and police officers do work really closely together. They don't like owe each other or anything, but there is a lot of working with each other, especially whether you're going to be a prosecutor or a defense attorney or something. It seems like Sam was going to go into criminal law. I don't know why I've made that assumption. Sam never really specifies that that's what he wanted to do, but I feel like it'd be out of character if he didn't want to do that. Some sort of criminal law. I realized as I was saying that I actually didn't. That wasn't like stated explicitly at any point. I feel like we've all just assumed that
because it's more interesting.
Yeah.
So the intruder is his older brother Dean, who has never met Jess. We later find out they haven't really talked in like 2 years.
I think that was such a sleazy thing to do, like to break into his house. Like, I hate that